growing up in the country, I have vivid memories of like just these, when we were a family unit, just this country vibes. Not Australian country, like real dry, wastelandy kind of, it was like full of vegetation, rivers, green, and obviously with that there comes a lot of wildlife, and there is, there was fishing, there was, the norm for me was going on, like climbing hills on the weekend as a kid, barefoot, just roaming around, and just like looking under rocks for things. I didn't even know what they were at the time. I was so young, and then I was just looking for things, and I could always appreciate that side of the of life, not just human life. It was always, I would sit and watch birds for age, like I don't even know, like half a day on Saturday, and I can hear my mum yelling out, "Dylan, dinner's ready" or something. But that was the young times, man. It was like this very country kind of, we'd go, like I said, fish, and then would, respect the fish, and then would teach me how to fillet it, and and it was just this, you go into the city now, it's just not there. So it was really the contrast of that all, and that allowed me to really appreciate, I think, life on a very deep level, unconsciously. And then now I can be a bit more conscious of it, which is so powerful. It's like, you really get connected with your space and who you are, and interaction, and I think, that was a big part of it, that kind of country lifestyle.
That was Dylan Taylor, and this is another episode of the Raw with Ollie McNicol podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Raw with Ollie McNicol. First of all, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you, brother.
Such a pleasure. What a wild ride we've been on so recently together.
Just the whole year has just been, that's a good way to say it, wild ride.
Yeah. What a beautiful year.
Yeah, good year though. Yeah, good ride. The best ride.
Yeah, not the Magic Mouse or anything. Is that what it was called? The one at the show that was all dodgy?
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
Mad Mouse, yeah. I was thinking Magic Mountain, Mad Mouse. Yeah. It's been awesome. It's been a real one. I wanted to start this by going back to, I don't know if you remember the very first time we met.
Marion.
You do?
Yeah, good life.
I'm just going to go there. So I remember you were there with a mate of yours, and I was at the time doing hip thrusts, like glute bridges.
Don't remember
with
that,
a barbell. Yeah.
Sweet.
So
Take your word.
Amidst doing my homework for this podcast, this just came up, and I realized, so we were at Good Life. I'd never seen you before, and I was doing these hip thrusts with a barbell. And
did we lock eyes?
Well, more than that. So I was doing something, and I could just see by the way that you were communicating with your mate there at the time, you had such a gentle and welcoming way of describing every single movement and every intricate detail, and how to make those tiny adjustments to create better activation and all that. And I think I asked you, I was like, hey man, do you mind watching to see if I do this right? And then that's when I truly saw who Dylan Taylor was. So you were like, yeah man, yeah, for sure. Yeah, let's do it. So I did it, and I remember you gave me these tiny little cues and all this stuff, and I was like, this was also at a point in time where I had just gotten my diploma in fitness and personal training, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, so yeah, this is what I'm going to be doing. And so I was just in the gym, going through the motions, that sort of thing. And then after that interaction with you, I realized I'm not ready to be a coach because I don't yet have the ability to communicate and express things the way that this incredible man just has to me. And that was a really, really beautiful thing for me. And yeah, I apologize. I'm kind of just taking over the very beginning of the podcast, but this kind of outlines Dylan Taylor. And I want it to be well received how helpful you can be to the general public, your absolute closest friends, and people you've never met before in the gym. So that's basically when I realized the kind of person you were. And from then on, I've been following your stuff. And this was like 4 or 5 years ago.
It was a while ago. I reckon it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I think you had your dreads at the time as well.
Oh yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, so it's such an honor to interact at the level we are now and experience the things that we are now together. It's truly beautiful. So thank you for that, man.
Accepted, brother. Accepted hard.
And my question to that is, where did that gentle and informative nature, or rather the foundation of the way that you teach, where did that begin?
Damn. It's a good question. From the start, when I started coaching, personal training, whatever you want to call it, I always had a thing for it, and I think it came from upbringing. Obviously, I always saw myself as a leader, and was captained through rugby teams early on, and those skills were, I think, developed earlier, than normal, but really found my place, I think, at the start of just being a personal trainer and just practicing the skills of communication and learning how to word things, and so different individuals understand what I'm saying. Excuse me. And it was like a big learning curve early on when I first started. The first 6 months, I would say something, I might be like, for example, the cue chest up, and they wouldn't know how to, articulate their spine in a certain, way that I wanted it. And I'm like getting frustrated that they couldn't do it. So I had to learn other ways to say things, and that's where the experimental kind of phase, I think, started early on. And just the genuine passion for just being just humans, just life itself. Coming from New Zealand, we pride ourselves on our culture and being raised around nature and stuff. I've always appreciated life in any form. So you mix the two together, and I started developing this real, like you said, gentle and understandable way of kind of doing what I was saying, maybe, or does that make sense? I think that's kind of where it all comes from, and it just has grown and developed and blossomed from there, and it's just become I think that's one of my my biggest traits is communication in a session with someone, so they get the best outcome for what it is they're doing, or just even with mates or anything. Just comms, man.
That's what I've seen, because you are the same with all of your mates as well. It's not just like an act or stepping into, all right, now in this moment in time I'm going to be the coach or trainer. It's like, that's just your way of life. That's your way of performing. Like, you are just a performer.
I try, man. Try my best.
Yeah. So it's very refreshing. Yeah. So I thank you for having that presence in the industry, and in my lifetime, I'm very grateful that I have someone like you, especially to help me learn how to hip thrust properly and load up the weight there.
You're more than welcome, bro.
Yeah, wicked. So you touched on your nature kind of coming from growing up in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for you to... Oopsie. Broken phone?
No.
All good? It's a surprise. Like with the new iPhones and stuff, I'm surprised it's...
They're sturdy.
Yeah. You touched on your nature kind of coming from your upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
What about your upbringing, especially in New Zealand, gave you that relationship with nature and the ability to teach people and as we've spoken about, do the things that you do? What from New Zealand provided you with that ability? Or was it rugby or
everything, bro? There's so much to it, right? That molded and forged, the iron under and the foundation of who I am. But I think when you look at what I'm doing now with my profession and career, it's what's really, and what you referred to as like, what helped to develop it in New Zealand. I think growing up in the country, I have vivid memories of like just these, when we were a family unit, just this country vibes, not Australian country, like real dry, wastelandy kind of. It was like full of vegetation, rivers,
a lot of green,
and obviously with that there comes a lot of wildlife, and there is, there was fishing, there was, the norm for me was going on, like climbing hills on the weekend as a kid, barefoot, just roaming around, and just like looking under rocks for things. I didn't even know what they were at the time. I was so young, and then I was just looking for things, and I could always appreciate that side of the of life, not just human life. It was always, I would sit and watch birds for age, like I don't even know, but like half a day on Saturday, and I can hear my mum yelling out, "Dylan, dinner's ready," or something. But that was the young times, man. It was like this very country kind of, we'd go, like I said, fish, and then would respect the fish, and then would teach me how to fillet it and and it was just this, you go into the city now, it's just not there. So it was really the contrast of that all, and that allowed me to really appreciate, I think, life on a very deep level, unconsciously. And then now I can be a bit more conscious of it, which is so powerful. It's like you really get connected with your space and who you are and interaction. And I think, that was a big part of it, that kind of country lifestyle. I think we know anyone who's kind of been brought up in the country, when they come into the city life, they're that weird person, or that like loser maybe at school. But like they're the most fucking connected person probably there.
Yeah. Every movie will tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And so I've definitely taken a lot from that kind of upbringing, that chapter when I was quite young, before we moved into the city. And that's when I got the feeling of the contrast. That was weird. That was a weird time, going from country and kind of this country school, and then like this town, city, whatever you want to call it. It was like a tiny little space, but got to learn best of both worlds in a way.
Yeah. I would love to put a pin in what you mentioned about the rocks and looking through rocks and stuff, because there's something I would really love for you to elaborate on. But how you mentioned that you were searching, but you weren't even sure what for. I think it's so cool, because that's like a perfect representation of, we have natural instincts as well. You were just being a human, like searching, hunting, gathering. You were just looking, like, and observing nature. That's really, really cool. The fact that you are aware that you were looking through rocks, but you weren't sure what for. That's just awesome. I don't know if that's weird for me to think that's awesome, but that is just I think that is so cool.
Yeah, it's a interesting thing looking at it like that, at such a young age with, barely developed consciousness at that time. It's like I was just being. It was just primitive what I was doing, and sure, some development then, and maybe I found things in the past and it kind of sparked memories of wanting to search for more treasure or things. But yeah, it was always fascinating just finding weird shit under rocks, man, like worms and spiders and stuff. And I don't know, it was just like, I think the metaphor of all that is just like I was just searching for something.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. Then I didn't know what I was searching for, but I was just searching.
Yeah.
And always search for that something.
Yeah. Human search. Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. All right. So how did you go from being this country town boy, running through the, on the earth barefoot, searching through rocks, to then joining the army? What was it called exactly that you were a part of in New Zealand?
It was just the military. The
military,
New Zealand Defence Force. Yeah.
So how did that come about?
So I think the gap between there's a big phase from I think 12 to getting kicked out of school, and then the military came after that.
Okay.
Did you want to go straight to military or have a?
Let's touch on getting kicked out of school. Because that's a gap that will speak 1,000 words. Yeah. So let's go there. Yeah.
Yeah. So family challenges, separation, moved to the town area where there was it was an all boys school, very multicultural. Islanders, Samoans, Tongans, Māori, Indians, you name it. Yeah, and you can imagine there'd be a lot of conflict there, especially being in a quite, I would say, low socio-economical kind of place at the time. I don't know, can't really, but it was pretty rough back then. The school, had kids from, who were, their fathers were members of the mongrel mob back in New Zealand. I don't know if you've seen the movie Once Were Warriors. No. It's a very intense movie, and this is the stuff I was seeing quite young. There was a lot of fighting. It's high school. My first year high school, man. I had this huge. I don't even remember his name. I think it was Moses. His name was. Yeah, Moses. His name. This huge Tongan, and he came up to me and asked me for my sandwich, and I said no, and I copped it. Pop. Yeah, this was it, and then. Things happened, and that's a whole story in itself what happened after that. But these types of cliche kind of school scenarios and things like this, and fighting, and I just couldn't find my feet in high school. I didn't know, I couldn't grasp the fact of sitting there and listening to someone talk about something I was not interested in. I wanted to freaking flip those rocks, man. I don't know, and all due respect to the teachers doing that, honestly, a lot of respect for them. But for me, it just did not make sense. The only thing that made sense was playing rugby and eating my lunch. It was the best. And it kind of just went on for a couple of years. And then at 15, at the time, what happened? I think I was dabbling with marijuana at the time. It was about that age, that ripe age, and someone offered me it at lunchtime. I took it, and as I was heading into, I think a teacher saw me doing the trade over. I got caught, got brought in. That was a big warning there, I think. And then after that, I started fighting kids, and it just fell apart. And then I pretty much got the warning, like, you either leave school respectively or get kicked out. And that's what happened. I decided to just leave and join the workforce. I didn't even, and that's kind of what happened there. Worked for a few years, 3 years, off and on. Still didn't know what I want, man. I was searching.
What did you do for work?
Man, work was, I was working for my old man at the time. He got me a job doing I was grading and picking apples on the farm, apple farms. Mindless, somewhat okay because I was within nature. there's birds, I could take my shoes off, I could breathe. It was okay, but it still wasn't stimulating enough for me. And then a few other jobs, I think I worked at KFC for 6 months. That was all right. Bulk protein. All I knew at the time was it was protein. I was like, gains, and I was starting to get into training then too. Although I didn't know that it was like crazy surplus at the time. I was eating probably like 3,000 calories at the end of a shift, would just eat whatever. I'm like, I'm getting fat, but kind of big, but that's good, right? I don't know. It was a weird time, but kind of escalated on a couple more jobs, and then...
no one's going to take your sandwich after that.
Yeah.
You put on that weight, that KFC weight. No way.
Oh, man. And then, a few other jobs, and then pretty much got to the point where it was just like, I need to do something more. And my old man served in the forces. He was like 8 years. He was, boxer, top shot. He's all these awards. He's a badass dude, and he was my hero. So unconsciously, obviously, I'm going to follow in the same kind of footsteps, and that's what led me to applying, joined, and it was about 6 months. So core, basic training, core training, then medically discharged early, like pretty much 6 months in. And that was a pars defect in my lower back. I got an MRI scan, blah, 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 blah. Got discharged, was sent home on the most lonely bus ride home. And I was lost, man. That's when I was just very lost in that phase. Probably a big low for me. Because you could imagine getting accepted into the forces and getting doing well in the ranges and ticking all these goals and knowing you're going to travel down the track and studying sports science and doing these things. And I was like, I'm on it. I'm doing these things. And then one pack walk later and a busted back, and then I'm sent home on a bus ride moments later. It's like, fuck, because I'm a liability. Yeah, that was it. So that took a big toll. Not initially, but it just gradually ate at me. And I got home and I was just, I was in a very, very weird space in bed till just the whole day for weeks on end. I was lost, man. And then the old man pretty much, goes to me. He's like, dude, you gotta get back on the horse, essentially. He's like, this has gone on for too long. I fell into pretty hard, I would say, depression. Yeah, I was going out, spending all the money that I got from the Defence Force, cars and drugs, alcohol, just all that jazz. Don't need to dwell on that too much, but all of that there, suicidal thoughts. Yeah, it was there. Mm-hmm. And then the old man pulls me up, and then, long story short, got me some work. I asked where. He goes, Adelaide. I think I said that to you the other day. I go, where the fuck's Adelaide? And he goes, South Australia. And I'm like, what? You kicking me over to South Australia? I was thinking Auckland or Wellington, somewhere local, but pretty much, started some work over here, and then a few jobs later, and then cert 3 and 4 in fitness, and that's when it kind of to that 23-ish, 22 part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We missed a very big part just then. You kind of just went straight from that to cert 3, 4 in fitness. No. Tell me, how did you achieve your cert 3 and 4 in fitness, being a brand new person to South Australia? And having blown all your money on those at the time necessities, let's go there.
All right, let's. So, arrived here, done a couple of jobs. I was working at Good Life at the time, and that was Good Life Glenelg, and I was just as a sales consultant. Because I knew I wanted to get into the gym scene, and I started at sales, and I figured it has a good transfer over to coaching. I can learn a bit about how to do that. And one day there was a sales rep for AIPT. As I'm finishing work, he's putting his stall up, getting ready for all the peak hour people to come in and go, and it has this big banner. It's like, become a personal trainer now. da 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 da, your dream, blah blah blah, and like I'm like sitting there like, oh, yeah, just pretty much magnetized towards it, and go over and speak to the guy, and he essentially just sells me the dream, and then at the end of it all, he's like, I'm like, how much is all of this? He's like, it's $5,000. I'm like, $5,000, and that was a bit of a stretch for me at the time. So pretty much I said, I can't right now, man. I'm going to have to get your card or do something. I just can't right now, and I'll sort it out down the track when I'll save some money. And got his card. He said, all good, blah, blah, blah. He'll be in touch. I left home. At the time, I didn't have a car, so I was taking the tram. Shout out Stop 10, Adelaide. It was my jam. Stop 10 to Stop 12. It was back and forth between home. Stop 12 was Good Life. Glendale was went down to Stop 10. I'm walking home, and I lived quite close to the Highway Inn, the joint there. And as I'm walking past, I spot $10 on the side of the road. I'm like, oh, it's my lucky day. I'm like, magnetizing it in. Let's get some money. I got to put this in my piggy bank. And it's probably about 10 meters away from the highway. And I don't know what brought me to it. I thought, let's just go into, you know what? It was, I would have unconsciously seen pokies or like game, it has Game Room or whatever it has there. And I knew about the poker machines then. I played around with them every now and again when I had a drink, but I was like, I just gravitized towards it. And I went into the games room with my $10, and I got it in coins, $1. I'm looking for my machine, and I find a machine called Shogun, and it had the jackpot as 4999. I'm like, this is it. This is it. So I put the dollars in, 10, and I knew a bit about the machines then. I knew I couldn't do one spin and just have one line. So I did all three, but I knew I didn't have many spins then. So I did three. It put me down to $7. Nothing. Down again. Yep. Then I had pretty much $4 left after that, and I was like, either do 2, 1, or like try drag it out. Let's do the 3. Press the 3. This got pretty much all 3 in a row. 5, sorry. And the crazy part about it was, which was so nerve-wracking, was when you get all 4 of whatever it was, I can't remember, the horse or something, the substitute there, the 5th line spun for ages. It was like, and then it slows down, and it landed on the horse, and it goes, this lady next to me, she's like, going off. I'm like, yeah! Won the jackpot. $5,000, man.
Unreal.
I still can't believe it, man. It's somewhere. I've got photos on like an old iPhone somewhere.
Oh, really?
I've got the iPhone stored away.
Find
yeah,
that, man.
I'll see if I can find it. It's a freaking, and yeah, pretty much. Went up to the lady. She took cleared it out or whatever, and then gave me $5,000 in cash. It was $5,000 in cash. Brought it over to the Commonwealth Bank just across the road, banked it away, and then called up that guy and pretty much said, look, man, I've got the money I want to pay. He goes, what? And I was like, yeah, I just sorted it out. And, I was so in shock. I was like, and pretty much just paid it off on there. And then that's when I started the course, not long after that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Huge thanks to that guy that sold it to you. He did his job very well.
Shout out to that person who lost that $10. It's gone to good use, trust me.
How crazy is that?
Bonkers, man.
That's insane. Did you, at the time when you found the money and then you took it to the pokies, and you saw the 4999, were you thinking of the course?
Of course.
Okay, yeah.
I wasn't very woke at that time of my life, so that it would definitely happen though. Yeah.
Yeah.
If there was any chance of it just all 100% drawn there. I was there. I went into the room. I was searching that same topic. What am I searching for? Found it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Far out. So how long ago was that now?
That's 6 years ago. 6
years.
and a bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 6.
That's insane. Who's ever heard of the pokies like having a jackpot? That's incredible.
And it was maxed out, man. The maxed out jackpot.
Yeah.
Couldn't peak to 5,000. That was it. 4,999. Yeah.
And you got that in cash, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was crazy, man. I felt like a baller. There's a part of me that's like, man, chuck a 50 back in. I was like, because I was like, if I can win 5K, I can win. Yeah.
Wait, so you did put a 50 back in? No.
No, hell no. Imagine. No, that's what I was thinking. I was kind of, fuck.
You go back to the guy, you're like, man, I'm $50 short. Not going to be able to do
You
it.
have to wait for my next paycheck.
Yeah. Or the next $10 on the side of the road.
Or the next, chunky change I find on the side of the road.
Far out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. So, all right, I'm gonna jump a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump to 2016, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a conversation with Steve Cook, and 1 year later, you decided to compete in men's fitness.
Oh, damn.
I would love for you to speak to what was involved in that conversation, whether that was a major driving force, because I understand that you did kind of speak about it a little bit. But what was going on at that time in your life?
Yeah, man, thanks for bringing that up. Old Steve Cook, he was in Adelaide. Do you remember that?
I can't say.
That's okay. It was
I met him in Melbourne a couple of times, but yeah.
He was like back. I'm not a huge fan of him now. Back when I was starting out though, and starting in the industry, he had a YouTube channel. He's giving out a heap of free good content. Like I was like, this guy's, he's doing good stuff, and I was influenced by it.
Yeah.
And then I heard he was in Adelaide, and me and a mate we were just going down to Glenelg to get like Zambreras or something, and I saw him. I'm like, Steve. And he would have been thinking, oh my god, probably crazy fan. I'm like yelling out to him, and he's like, hey man. I didn't even know his accent. He's like, hey man, and we had a chat, and I was just like, I can't honestly remember what he said to me, but it was very like motivational. Yeah, nothing that completely landed and I remember, but it was just motivational. Yeah, and at that time I was working at Glenelg as well as a PT, and there was a couple of big guys in the gym who were competing. Sal Hassan.
Yeah.
He was competing at the time, and he had like a full client base, and I was like, oh, this must be the next step or the next thing, so there was influence from a few angles, and then I was following in it, and remember that year 2016-15, competing was just huge.
Yeah,
it was just flooded in social media. It was just massive.
That rings a bell. Yeah, I'm that
WBFF.
I wasn't aware of it then, but
you had ICN on the rise. Then you had all of these it was a crazy time.
It was the thing to do.
It was the thing.
Yeah.
And I was following a bunch of people at that time, and I think I just started Instagram, and it was just what I felt like. I was just called to do it, and I was like, essentially, I was like, you know what? What's the harm in competing? It's gonna force me to really have to dial in my nutrition and focus and have a new level of discipline that I've never been able to do. So I gathered all those logical things of why it could be beneficial, right? And I was like, cool, this sits with me. I'm going to do it. And I was like, and then there's the other part that's like, and it'll be sick to be lean and have all those shots on social media and and that kind of world. And I was like, this is a decent enough reason to do it. So I signed up to A and B. I was going to say ABN. A and B for my first comp. And 2016, I reckon it was, towards the back end of it. And that's kind of when it all started. So pretty much won a bunch of comps, ended up doing a national comp, won the national comp, won a pro card in men's fitness there. I don't know how like, well, you can scale that as a pro card and with A and B in comparison to some of the other federations. I don't know. I don't fucking care, to be completely honest. It was just a big achievement for me at the time. It's just like, it was something to do, and I really established myself in my disciplines, and it really reinforced that I was like, I could do anything I set my mind to. And that was the big picture for me. I was like, I can do this. So a lot of lessons learned within all that. And then not long after, I realized it wasn't all what it's meant to be. About
Interesting, isn't it?
a year after or so, I finished the comp. I reversed out of it nicely. I knew what I was doing, put on some healthy weight, and I was in a good mental state, But that's what I thought at the time, until I went down to the beach that next summer, and I was anxious for the first time in a long time. I was worried about what people would think of me without having those abs that I showed on Instagram. Those abs that I would show in those stories and those highlight fucking fancied up pictures that had angles and lightings of the gods. You know what I mean? It was like, that's not me. And I was at this weird world you go between. It's like, and you develop like, I'd say, a level of anxiety around it, of body image. And that's when I realized something ain't right. I was like, this ain't fucking me, man. This ain't me. It's not, it wasn't my roots and who I was, and I was called to back out of it. I did a couple of things with Rider. We did some shooting and stuff, and it just didn't feel right, and it was a little too fake and pretentious. I'll be fucking real, It was just, yeah. So that's kind of where that all led, and it spiraled me out of that journey. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, in saying that though, how did your comp go? Let's just touch on that briefly. Yep.
So first comp was a really interesting process. It was like, the whole tanning. I was eating, I think at that time, about 1,700 calories. That was for me, for what I was doing, was quite low. I would do it completely different if I was to do it now, but it was still a decent amount. I wasn't completely dumbwitted about it, and I, thought, can't eat carbs and only chicken and rice. I was flexible dieting. I had the MyFitnessPal. I was doing it all right. I was hydrated. Didn't do water cutting and like none of that shit. I did it right, in my opinion, right? So yeah, first comp went well. Really interesting process. Like I said, the whole tanning, the dialing in, the posing, man, the amount of hours I spent on posing. Craig Fisher actually helped me out years back with that.
Okay.
He helped me out with a couple of sessions early on and got me understanding how to kind of pose to a base level.
Yeah, right.
And then I was like, I can do this. And I just started I was watching a bunch of guys on some pros at the time, and I was kind of putting together my own kind of style. And I'll just practice the shit out of it, and breathing and holding in vacuums, and how to articulate a certain position to show a better side of me, and what not to show because maybe this sits a little differently. And it was that whole posing is very difficult. Mm-hmm. It's like anyone can pose, but to do it in a way that really shows the best side of your body. And then the breathing in it, and how to transition to extra, and doing it all in a really flowy, beautiful state. That's hard. So that was probably, posing was probably the most enjoyable part of it, I think, the journey for me, alongside some of the mental stuff. But yeah, that was first comp, and then a few other, my first national comp, sorry, I didn't win first year. Second year, came back and won it. Yeah, so state, national, won the second national. Yeah. The last comp, we'll skip to that one. I think that one, the ones in between weren't too much. Good building blocks off from there. But the last comp was quite special. It was in Parramatta. Had some a really tough lineup. A lot of them have become pros in their field, and WBFF and a few others. And it was a really tough lineup, and just the whole backstage thing and going on multiple times, this big crowd, that was intense, that last one. But I just had this vision the whole time, and it really kept me alight. And I would always picture my family sitting in the crowd, mom, dad, sisters, little bro, just looking at me proud. And that kind of really made me to feel quite natural within the smiling and holding, and not like this real like forced upon like kind of emotion. It was really natural, and it made me feel quite good about doing all that.
Yeah. So it's a very bittersweet sort of relationship.
Yeah,
and
man,
thoughts
it's weird.
around. Yeah.
I don't talk about this explicitly, you know what I mean? It's like, but yeah, I've thought about it, but never vocalized it.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone, say in their early 20s, who feel as though that's what they should be doing? How what advice would you give them?
That's a good question.
Or what recommendations would you give?
I think I can never say not to do it, because I believe every journey and chapter will enhance you regardless of the outcome, right? Because it's the process that develops you, right? And you learn things from it. So, but what I will say is definitely take a conscious level and thought about where you are in your life right now, and if you want to prioritize what you're about to prioritize, about the nutrition, about the mental state you need to be in, about the training protocols and consistency you have to be there, and to literally block out the world and become this very tunnel vision individual, and just like a shark, man, ready to attack. You just all day for months on end. Ask yourself that. Are you ready to become that shark and just zone in for months on end and potentially affect a lot of things in your life? And that could be, let's say, from a nutritional standpoint, hormones. Let's say from a psychological standpoint, relationships, not just with others, yourself. Weigh these things out, look into it a little, and then once you've come with a decision and a conclusion of all of that, then make your decision. That would be, I think, a good way to look at it, and a way I would tell myself back then. And I think if you can put all that together, you'll have a good answer, I think.
Yeah, that's cool. Because that was going to be my next question. What would you have said to yourself, your younger self, at that time when you were about to make that decision? Yeah.
I think it would be very much everything along those lines. Maybe a bit more depthy and a bit more sharp to my younger self, but definitely along those lines, and just really like reiterating the fact that it is a fucking huge commitment, and it's like you have to be, put a lot on the line. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on just the saying that bodybuilding is a selfish sport?
I think...
Would you say that that's accurate?
No, I don't think so. I think to a certain degree, but I don't think as a whole, no. Because I could have continued, and I could have still developed in other areas, and then still, realized I can have relationships and still do this. And, I think it might be more, if you're looking at that top level, it might be more challenging to have a balance to some degree, but doesn't mean it's not achievable. You might just have to really be conscious and be really precise with how you do things and really smart with your approaches. And I think you could probably find some kind of balance to a degree. But it depends on what you want out of it. Because if you have a relationship, let's say you have a girl by your side, and she's supporting you, you're going to do even better. You have someone supporting you along the way. Sure, if you're truly focusing on yourself as much as you can, and that's where it can potentially affect the relationship, but so that's why you got to be aware of it. So if you're conscious of it, you can still get it done and still have a healthy relationship. But again, it's one of those things, it's like You don't know unless you go there and try it and be in those scenarios, you know. But I don't think that's completely accurate.
Yeah, right. So it comes down to the way you go about it. It is choice. It's purely choice.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, that's awesome. I think that's really cool to, create some clarity around for people, because it can be given quite a bad rap.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be that way. So it's awesome that you address that stigma. Another stigma that I would love for you to address is the fact that people think or believe that in a cutting phase, especially at the peak of their cut, they'll lose a lot of strength. So at one of your cutting peaks, you were doing chin-ups with an additional 50 kilograms. Mm-hmm. That is incredible. And I want to know, because obviously you're huge on body weight movements and body weight exercise. Do you feel as though your time in the military has that kind of built that foundation and strength in those movements? Because that's incredible.
Interesting. Yeah. So I think, we'll start off with the whole losing weight through a comp phase, you know, to get to your certain outcome, and strength hypertrophy stuff, right? So I think, there's a huge misconception. I think when people go to cut or to do something, you just do this random, like just all volume, no intensity. For viewers, dropping it, let's say, just going no heavy loads, but more volume, and only just going like 20, 30 reps. The idea is, I think, if you've worked your ass off in the surplus phase and developed this strength, and you're doing strength and hypertrophy training and building this physique that you desire, why would you then do the complete opposite of it? You want to hang on to as much strength as you can, because that's your foundation, that's your muscle. So the idea would be to completely try and push as hard as you can to maintain those strength numbers, you know, and like you said, I think I was hitting some solid PBs through that block, you know, and cut. You know, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to actually get some gains, because imagine someone who's not competing, and then they randomly decide to compete. They're going to improve their nutrition. They're going to they'll be looking at their sleep and, you know, stress levels and the list goes on. You would hope so, that they're looking at this bigger picture, right, of how to improve the human body and optimize it. So it's like, if you've got this kind of individual, they're going to get, if you flip that coin with them and they change their whole lifestyle, they're going to get results. So you shouldn't be, but to a little off topic with that, but in a way, but still, it's like you should not be hang on to as much of that strength as you gained through the prerequisite times to that comp. You don't want to lose it. Hold on to as much of it as you can, and literally the change in calories. Let's say you're doing strength and hypertrophy training, right? And you're in a surplus at, let's say, 3,000 calories, and your deficit is, let's say, 2.6, that 2.6 might just be a glass of freaking orange juice. Why should you change your whole training protocol? You might just need to change your glass of juice. That's it. Still keep doing the same training. Push hard in it all the way to the end, as much as you can. So, it's just, that's the tweak sometimes, man. A glass of juice or a piece of fruit can be the difference between maybe a slight deficit or a surplus. And it doesn't mean you have to change your training protocol. Maybe if they weren't doing much, you know, enough hypertrophy prior, but then that's a whole
there's
other,
variables.
There's a lot into it, but that whole topic there is you want to be hanging on to as much of those gains as you developed while you cut.
Awesome. So for a little bit of understanding for the listeners, so give us a gist of like a general workout as far as volume and intensity. What would the sets and reps and weight look like when you were in a calorie deficit looking to cut, as opposed to where they are now, for example?
Okay, so it was back then. I think I started off around 2.4, 2.5. I was hanging around there. That was a slight deficit for me. I think I did a 15% drop. And my training protocol at the time was legs, push, pull, rest. Yep. And I just cycled that through. I'd start the workout with, for example, the leg day. I would have a squat or, kind of heavy compound in there. It was maybe a 5x5, trying to just hold on to strength really. And then accessory after that. So it might be some lunges, some Bulgarians, some leg extensions, a lot of knee bending movements pretty much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wanted to get those quads coming through. Mm-hmm. And then push day, something similar. Might be bench, might be a military or overhead press to some degree. Kind of similar numbers, hanging around the 5x5. My goal was just to maintain strength. Yeah, so 5x5 was the magic number at the time. Mm-hmm. I would probably do it differently now, but that's what I was doing back then. And then again, followed up with some accessory. The numbers in the accessory might be something like 4 sets of 20, for example, on a set of lunges. Yeah, I would rest a minute to a minute 30 between. I'd want to keep that pump going, really break down the muscle fibers as much as I could, but still stay within the limits of not thrashing my nervous system. I was aware of that at the time as well. But then at the same time, I had this bulldog mentality. That shark comes in and it's just like, go! So you push hard too, So your RPE was like freaking nearly 10 every time, and it caught up a couple of times through the cut. I was pretty fried. Had to take, I started to get a little sick, and these are things you learn. And I started researching into it. But yeah, anyway, those are the kind of numbers I'd stick to. And then a pull day, deadlift, 5x5, followed up with some, maybe an RDL, 3 sets of 12, tempo, blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, yeah, it's usually a big compound followed up with a bunch of accessories, and the accessories were around where I felt was weak in my physique. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
sick. So kind of bringing the training side of things to a close, and on workouts while we're there. You were kind of the home workouts guru and king before anyone had to do them. And sometimes that would involve a skateboard, which was awesome. You were doing what would you call them? Like a split squat.
Yeah, it was
with a skateboard.
I called it the ghetto reverse split squat or something like
Love
that.
It. Yeah, that's awesome.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, no,
amazing.
I did my homework and it was awesome. And you on that kind of when you were all about those home workouts and stuff, obviously there are a lot of body weight stuff because that's what you feel is extremely important and very beneficial. You also explained how kettlebells and rings in particular, like gymnastic rings, is that what you call them? Yeah,
gymnastic rings, yep.
Yeah, so you explain how those are probably the most versatile, efficient pieces of equipment on the market that won't cost you an arm and a leg. Mm-hmm. So give us a real brief home workout with kettlebells and gymnastic rings.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just touch on how I mentioned how they're so versatile and they don't cost you an arm and leg. You can pick up you don't have to get the rogue freaking gymnastic rings, wooden, fully varnished up, fully specced up rings. You can get some cheap plastic ones. Those still do the job. And you can get a full body workout from those things. They are intense. If you look at a simple pull-up or chin-up, right? You remember how simple those pull-ups were the other day?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So a simple pull-up, chin-up, you can progress to a muscle-up. Yeah, the blah, 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 the rows, lower it down, do some, decline or incline push-ups on the things. You can go into L-sits, blah, blah, blah. But the ring itself, it's so versatile and you can get so much out of it. Kettlebell as well. Again, you can go and get a second-hand kettlebell. You don't have to buy a brand new one. You probably want a kind of worn-in one. It's going to be so much cheaper anyway. So, again, you can do so much from it. You can hold it in a front rack position. You can hold it down by side. Unilateral, farmer carries, overhead, snatching, lunging, squatting, twisting, turning, pushing. There's so much you can do with it. And it requires the body to move in such an intricate way, which really connects you to the movement and what you're doing. But to put it in a bit of a workout format, like you asked before, Ollie, a classic would be if it was Saturday and it was hot and I just wanted to do something at home, I would have a superset. I'd pick maybe 3 sets, but focus on maybe 3 to 4 sets of 2 exercises at the start. For example, it could be a pull-up, 4 sets of 10 of that, and I would superset that with could be like a kettlebell swing or a goblet squat. Yep, and I'll just rotate between those, maybe a small break after each superset, and then I'll grab a drink, do another couple of exercises. It could be a dip. Yep, could lower them down, drop into some dips, and then again couple that with, it could be a good morning with the kettlebell, and just these kinds of things are the things I was doing. Finishing off with some unilateral stuff. It could be like a split squat on the skateboard, and followed with maybe a single arm power row on decline down, on an incline. Rowing. So the list goes on with the exercise you can do with the things. They're unbelievable, especially someone starting out and wanting to just learn how to use your body. Very, very, and I still use them today. They're amazing. Yeah.
So what would they cost then for going to the shops and buying a kettlebell, whether a second hand or not, and some rings? What does that cost?
Man, you want to get some rings? You can pay $10 to $20. You want to go online and get a second hand one? That's probably still in very good nick. You probably pay $5 for the rings. Kettlebell, I don't know, maybe. You could probably spend a couple of half decent ones, maybe a 10 kg and a 20 kg. You might be able to spend somewhere between $30 and $40. Some dude who's just done with them, you know what I mean? And you've got a killer workout which you can build a very good physique from that itself. Regardless of physique, you just get a very good workout from.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. I love that you've touched on that. And also, thank you for providing everyone with that awesome home content.
You're welcome.
I feel like people need to kind of archive that. Everyone should have. It would have been cool for you to reference that a bit more during this time, because you probably didn't even realize you were doing home workouts, because to you, they were just workouts.
I was just training.
They were just workouts,
An outlet.
Yeah. But at the moment, it's like, ooh, a home workout.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone is after one, if they are for any reason still stuck at home, head to Dylan Taylor's page.
Scroll down a bit.
Scroll down a bit. Yeah, absolutely. You'll also find a few other incredible pieces. So, as I mentioned, wrapping up the physical, you are just an ultimate performer. As I mentioned at the beginning, you've just done everything. You've done martial arts, you've bouldering, rock climbing,
so fun.
Acrobats as well. I've seen you doing like flips and like these what are those one hand sort of cartwheels, what are they called?
It was just like one hand cartwheel.
some Bruce Lee shit. It was wicked. You've done everything, including Ninja Warrior.
That chapter.
Yeah. So what is it about that chapter that comes up?
Oh man, that was I think experiences, man. I just love experiences. That's what life's about. Go out and experience it, and you'll learn so much from it. That that kind of summarizes what you said as well. Just go out and experience shit. And it's fun. So moving on to Ninja Warrior though. Decided to do Ninja Warrior. Got a message from them back around those times, probably when I was doing those home workouts. That's probably what they were like. Oh, this guy's probably suits the picture, right?
Nice.
Did the application, went through all the processes, and got the call up to go to Ninja Island. That was what it was called. It was just a little island that they put some stuff on. Yeah, it wasn't.
It was an actual island.
I think it has a different name though. It's not Ninja Island. That's just what they called it. It was just off Sydney, so pretty much went to Sydney and got this ferry over to this Ninja Island and met all these other ninjas and ex-Olympians and all sorts. That was an insane experience, like meeting all these great people and hearing their stories. And then it kind of went downhill from there. What happened was my run wasn't till a lot later in the night, and they anticipated around 10 o'clock. I'm like, whoa, I'm pretty tired by then. And it got to 10 o'clock and there was still people going. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting real tired now. And I started getting a few of these out. They intentionally had them there. And me and a few other guys.
Energy drinks for those listening.
Yeah, me and a few other guys are drinking a bunch of energy drinks, trying to keep ourselves up because we're falling asleep. And it reached 1 o'clock, man. 1 o'clock. It hit 1 o'clock and I get the call out, Dylan Taylor, you're on. I'm like, yeah, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty shit.
Yeah.
And this is the stuff you won't hear on about television, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, basically got out, did my run, started out, walk up the staircase, look out to the crowd, and they've got the sign, chair now.
For real?
Yeah. Chair, woo! See my sisters, yeah! Getting, had my top off. I was kind of lean at the time, not really.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was like just ready to rumble. So started off, did the quintuple steps or whatever it was called at the time. Nailed that. Getting ready, slide down this, slidey thing next and flipped, landed. And I'm like getting to the bridge of blades. And it's kind of like these, kind of look like this. There's about 4 of them though. And you got to kind of, when you run on one, it tips and the other one will come with it though.
Right.
And you pretty much just got to send it. There's no way about it. You just have to sprint and kind of not go too far out, obviously, because then the weight will be pushed down. You're kind of going to stay in the middle, but then also when it pushes down, you don't want to get hit from the next thing.
Okay.
It was quite tricky. And I was quite tired at the time too. Anyway, send, launch. I made it. But my upper body only lands over the kind of platform thing.
Yeah.
And my lower body doesn't land it. And what my lower body does, because I'm running at such fast speed, my upper body goes, boom, and lands, but my lower half, my foot pretty much hits this wall and goes, and it just hears this massive pop. It just goes, like a shotgun nearly.
Yeah.
And I had so much, you can imagine how much adrenaline and Red Bull was going through me at the time. I was just like, I got up, I pushed myself up. And I'm like kind of limping, and you see the crowd. They're all like, and then the producers and people recording, they're like, "Are you right, man?" The speaker, yeah. I'm like, "No, but I'll carry on." And they're like, "I'm like, I'll give the wall a go." I was at to the point where I had to do the wall, and I was like, "I'll give it a crack." And they're like, "Nah." They're like, no, it's not going to happen. Honestly, I think I may have had enough adrenaline to get me through the wall. I probably had the ability then. But they pretty much said no, and I had to get taken off, and won't talk too much about the experience, how I had with it. It wasn't the best. And afterwards, in terms of the service of what they did with me, I'm not going to bag it out too much.
Just out of respect. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
But it wasn't the best. And yeah, basically, long story short, the next day sent home, and my high grade 4 ligament tear or something. Yeah, it was lateral. Yeah.
Where?
Right foot lateral.
Gosh.
Yeah. So that was shit, man. It was. I've got a photo on there. You may have seen it. Yeah, you see my foot?
I think I did. Yeah, but I wouldn't have imagined that would come from just like impact from
man.
That's
imagine
insane.
just like running and landing your upper body over there, and then just your legs kind of smashing into it.
Yeah.
And they landed straight, so it went like that. Yeah. So it was. That was pretty rough, and it was again like sent home. Probably thinking of it now, probably triggered some of those army memories. Felt pretty shit for a while after that too. Of getting sent home, broken.
Yeah.
So, that was. But I had my sisters there. They were supportive at that time, and pretty much got home, and that was the whole Ninja Warrior journey.
Yeah, insane. Far out, and not many people know that about you either, do they?
Man, I don't care. It's
Yeah. I get you.
It's what like. And I mean that with respect. It's like it's from my experience. I love the going out and experience it. I don't.
Yep. I love that. I love that.
That's what it was. It was for me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it was your journey, but that's totally. I like that. I respect that a lot.
Yeah.
This is mainly because as I was doing my homework and research and delving into you further, I was noticing patterns in the way your content had changed, which I don't know if you were aware of. I mean, on some level, I'm certain that you were, but it changed immensely. It went from... There were a few phases. So obviously you had those phases when you were competing. Everything was sort of physical, aesthetic, and it sort of transitioned to... You kind of opened things up and opened up your world to everyone. You elaborated on past experiences, your time in the military. And one thing that I took away from that was, so in one of your posts you mentioned how in 2010 you considered yourself a troubled boy, right? To 2018, or I guess rather now, a happy young man. You've also mentioned in a very recent post suppression and expression. I would love for you to speak to who you were as a troubled boy in 2010, what life looked like in 2010, and does the differentiation from troubled boy to happy young man, I mean, I'm sure it would, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that the representation of suppression and expression in contrast?
Sure, for sure. To some degrees, I didn't write that post out with that in mind, but that certainly works, for sure. What I meant from that, in terms of suppression and expression, is, I think, yeah, you know what? That 2010-year-old, 10 years ago, Dylan, young boy, didn't know how to express because I was so suppressed. Yeah, for sure. And the journey really changed as I learned how to express a little more. Because I found out little nuggets about myself. I met coaches, met mentors, and along that 10-year journey to where I am now, I've learnt that if people can express more rather than suppress, you will be so much more connected to yourself. You will not bottle shit up, and not wait for that one little trigger and then it's like a champagne bottle, and then it's just, you see it all the time, day-to-day life even. Someone says the wrong thing and then bang, their whole world explodes. So express more, and then you don't have to explode. But that's what I was meaning from that. And yeah, definitely that 10-year-old and that 10-year-old ago, young boy did not know how to express very well. But that's okay. It's normal. And it's the journey that got me to where I am, and all the, just experience.
That was an incredible answer to a not so direct question, so I appreciate that. But I'm just going to ask straight up, so you can say it in your own words. How do you feel your content has evolved over the past years? Say the past 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, that's a good time frame.
Yeah,
I think that moving over phase, the whole challenge and finding myself, to then, I didn't really start Instagram until maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I think, which was pretty late for that at that time, I think. But yeah, so which is a good time, I think. So, but I think the first 2 years of it, which was, let's say, 6 years ago or 5 years or whatever, it changed from the fact that I realized that what I was seeking more was not out. It wasn't within things. It wasn't within my abs, my bigger pecs, or fucking, I don't know, trophies, or wasn't within having a car, or it wasn't in those things. And once I realized that, that's when I started that journey of looking into myself a lot more. That journey, that chapter of the spiritual chapter a bit more. The delving into who I am at the core, who I am as a person on this planet. And what am I doing here? And how does this work? That's when it all started, and that's when it all changed. And then, yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, that's when it changed, when I started looking in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I could express better.
Yeah. So physically speaking, what was your content then, and what is it now?
So it was very, very just the physical and external.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got a much better understanding that the way I work, and I think it's fair to say humans work as a whole, is much greater and very much on a spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very much kind of flowing between it all, and can express all kind of emotions there. And that's my compass, man. I follow. That's my direction. You don't need a physical compass. I need the compass of, instead of north, south, east, west, it's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. That's my compass, and and that's how it's kind of evolved. I've learned to kind of work between and let that direct me, and it shows through my socials rather than just the physical.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
Awesome. Yep. Beautiful explanation. Let's talk stone stacking. We've spoken about it briefly a little bit, but I want to hear your thoughts on it. You've posted a really, really cool post about it, explaining why you feel it's so important and special.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about stone stacking.
So when I was young, we like I said, in the country, I used to stack up stones. I didn't realize.
There it is again.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the natural instincts.
Yeah, man. I would just stack them up, and I found it really cool how you could kind of balance them. You got a big one, and you could make it so balanced on such a small one, or you could get a small one and balance it. I just liked how you could stack things and find a balance. Yeah, big word, right?
Mm-hmm.
So doing it from a young age, and then later on realizing that it's such a powerful thing to do, and it has so much meaning behind it, and just to have the patience to sit there and again, it's very meditational, right? Focusing and being very present. You got to focus on finding a big foundation and then start to slowly build it up. You don't have to do it like that. That's how I like to do it. And find rocks that symmetrically fit, and how to slowly balance it. It's a full process if you want to do it right. And if you want to make it into a bit of a workout as well, go get some big fucking rocks. That shit's hard. It's like strongman training nearly. You can go down the beach and find some big stuff and start to stack all that up.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point is it's very therapeutic, meditational, and it's a really cool little hobby that whenever I get a chance, or I'll do. Haven't been doing it too much intentionally now, going out to do it, but it's one of those quirky things that, that photo that you saw, I was out the back of Black Hill Reserve. I went for like a 5-hour hike, with like a backpack on, a couple of I don't know, I had Zupa Dupas and things, just some car. I needed something, I'm just waltzing out in summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just found this little stack of, there's this huge stack of stones, and I just sat there for a moment. I just needed a break, had a few, and then loaded up the stones and took that photo.
Mm-hmm. And
it was just allowed me to I was feeling fatigued at the time too, but it centered me back in, got my breathing going right, and then I finished the hike off. So yeah, there's a lot behind it, more than just this little pile of stones stacked up on top of each other.
Yeah. Just to speak to that, if you don't mind. So you had a few sort of subheadings, which were around stone stacking, which were patience and relaxation, creative processing,
Yep.
concentration and focus, and hand-eye coordination, as well as obviously nature.
Yep.
But you've just touched on all of that, so that's wicked. And that kind of brings me to, we've spoken about it pretty much from start to finish, but you're huge on getting primal and just primal movement, primitive movement, which I love, and I am excited for there to be more of. Can you, if there's anything that we haven't touched on already, what is your definition of getting primal?
Oh man, that's a big rabbit hole, that one. Getting primal. It can range from, I think, tapping into your primitive self, and what that I think means is getting in touch with. Could be getting in touch with nature. Yeah, it could be classified as mindful, spiritual, whatever you want to call it. But that itself is, I think, being primal, right? Going back to your primitive times. And it could range all the way to taking your shoes off for, that whole topic of getting your shoes off. It's just something we've become so disconnected from. And I'm really big on that. And you won't really see me with any tight kind of fitted shoes or anything. They're all quite loose, and I like feeling my feet. And if I have anything tight, I want to just throw them off. It's so uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's kind of like coffee in a way. If you have too much of it, you get too receptive to it. If you get too, and you don't know, like you have another one, it doesn't even do anything. Same with your shoes. If you wear them for too long and they're so tight, you lose track of your feet and how they actually feel. When I put that same thing, I put on, if I get some shoes that are too tight, I want to just throw them off. I'm like, these are terrible shoes. So again, could be taking your shoes off and going for a walk and feeling your feet and going back to how we were designed to. We didn't have shoes. We just didn't. We migrated and walked around barefoot for all of our lifetime, for a long phase anyway. But it can range from a whole heap of things, but for me it really sits around those two spectrums there, around nature, but then also going back to how we moved and dressed, and as in our attire for accessory things, and kind of just stripping and disconnecting from that and going back to our roots. Yeah, that's an awesome explanation. On the taking your shoes off, so I found Vivo barefoot shoes. Huge shout out to them. They are incredible. Absolutely.
So I found them. I realized you were wearing those like many years ago, probably when they just started. And I want to hear about that. But so I found them a couple of years ago, probably a few years ago now. And so I used to wear like Cons every day, like Converse, just every single day. And once I started wearing Vivos every single day, no matter what I was doing, I realized like my feet just, they widen, they will expand, they will go to how they're naturally meant to be, moving and functioning and supporting the way that they're actually meant to support, instead of being supported by shoes, which is so strange. So after wearing Vivos every day, I can't wear Converse anymore. Like I'll put like even these shoes I'm wearing now, these are restrictive.
Yep.
Like these are tight, but for other people these are extremely wide. For anyone who is wanting to experience that transition to getting primal, but also just becoming more, allowing your feet to do what they're meant to do naturally. Vivo barefoot shoes are an awesome way to start, and they provide shoes for any sort of occasion. But you were using those years and years ago, and I've seen some of the colors and different sort of styles that I haven't seen anywhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, that was I reckon I got my first pair maybe like 8 years ago or
Wow.
something.
Okay.
Yeah. They were the blue. I've got them on a gram somewhere. Like
Blue and yellow?
Yeah, blue and yellow, 7 or 8 years ago. Oh, yeah, when I, like, a while ago, maybe 5, 6 years, I don't know, but it was a while ago. And yeah, I don't know, it just made so much sense to me because I was looking for shoes that were comfortable and they weren't restrictive, and I kind of got it. I was like, my feet, I'm feeling a bit sore through my feet, and I then searched into some stuff, and Vivo came up. I was like, dope, let's get some of these. So yeah, and it made so much sense. It's like, you know, you're restricted all day in these shoes that are supportive for you, so you don't actually manufacture the stability in your feet to walk and support your foot arch, so on and so forth, and you lose track of how to use your intrinsic muscles of your feet. Yep. And it's like building a house with an unstable base. Yeah. And then people wonder why they have patella pain, hip instability. Yeah, the joint by joint concept. If something's messy, the rest is going to be messy, right? So that all made sense to me, and I looked into this really early, and it's something I've done with my clients and seen huge results from, and tried to tweak as much as I can. But yeah, if you want to start off the cheapest way, just get used to being barefoot at home. Just start there. Every time you're at home, take your shoes off, and your freaking 2 centimeter inch socks, like, get out of them too, let them breathe, start moving and using your feet. Sure, there's exercises and things you can do to, you know, help it, but I'd say just start there, because naturally you're gonna get fascia release from just walking on hard surface, and your feet will start to free up. And then you'll start to feel, it could go as far as saying to alleviate pain from your low back. Yeah, the feet are connected to the hips and the knees, so yeah, it can go on and on, but I think start there, and then if you want to invest, yeah, you can definitely look at, because obviously it's not socially acceptable in some places to just be barefoot. I think that's probably where it all started, man. Someone was like, we need to cover these ugly things up, these hairy toes, some man. So, you know, people cutting their feet up and stuff like that, but, you know, man, we got such soft land nowadays, and it's fine. We can... So yeah, start there. Like Ollie said, barefoot is the next go. But yeah, definitely, it's something that is a huge part of my life, and I'm aware of, and I really try to make sure my feet are looking very good. They should be nice and spread. Yeah, they don't want to be closed in, and you can't use them. Imagine if we had like gloves on our hands that were like Nike gloves. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if they were like shoes, and they like, you know, could you imagine that?
Yeah,
and we, like,
yeah.
tied them up, and they were like, "Yo, man, what kind of Nike gloves you?" Or like kind of gloves. Imagine how cooked up your wrist would be, and then your elbows would be all jammed. It's the same concept, right? But that's the thing. We can't even see our feet because we literally can't see them. Because then we disassociate from them. We trick our brain to believe we don't even have them nearly.
Yeah.
We have shoes, not feet.
Yeah. Quick fun fact. I don't know if this kind of made shoes kind of, I don't know, popular and made them what they are today, but way back in the day, females, like, they used to, I think it was in China, Japan, I don't know if you've heard of this, but they used to force their foot, so they would make it so their feet, right, they would bend their toes and the front of their foot underneath their foot, right, over time, and use things to restrict them so they couldn't move, and because that was seen as attractive back then.
Wow, I believe
what was that? Yeah, smaller feet. They wanted smaller feet.
Yeah.
So they would,
that's fucking weird.
Yeah. So, I'm certain that things...
We got a mate.
Hey? Earthing. Yeah, exactly. Earthing. Yeah, that's just walking barefoot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Grounding, earthing, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
For sure.
Connecting with, you know, maybe not soil like this, but, you know, somewhere where it's a bit more open and, you know, there's no like pipes underneath it and blocking off. There's a whole heap of science behind the electromagnetic fields and connecting, so on and so forth. But it's like, grounding, earthing, start there. Just look up the word and just look up and just apply it. Yeah, that's your start, and you'll see the benefits straight away.
Yeah, we haven't always worn shoes. Understand that.
Yeah, for sure.
So speaking of movement, you have run, is it 2 events so far? Is that right?
2 workshops.
2 workshops,
I was
sorry.
just testing the waters with those, yeah.
Yeah, so those 2 workshops were around...
Last year.
But like, what did they involve?
Topics. Squat, bench, dead.
Awesome.
Overhead press. Yeah, it was just the big 4.
Yeah.
And just looked at how to move through those compounds. Yeah.
Yeah, wicked. So you're obviously huge on movement as a whole. You've done those 2 workshops.
And then weightlifting. Sorry, Olympic weightlifting was the second one.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, you've done those. Now, what is next? And also, will that involve a little bit more of an explanation and bringing awareness to movement itself?
Yeah.
What's next?
So it's funny that you asked that. I've got an event next week. The event, I've titled it this time. It's not just a workshop. It's called The Performer. And yeah, that's I've got a 2-day event, and it's day 1's based around mindset, which is just looking at how things are wired upstairs and how we can essentially create a reality that we desire. But like you said, of the movement sides of things, that's day 2. And that is how we use our body and how our joints actually work, not just following trends and movements created from all these weird angles and things like this. It's how our joints actually work, and putting human bodies through it and finding different pathways that they haven't found before, and exploring and getting to understand and really embody on the day how to move more proficiently. So yeah, that's where I'm going with that, and that's beta. This is number 1 coming up, so
awesome.
Really keen to branch off from that.
Wicked. And is that fully booked out now?
It's booked out.
Booked out. Yeah,
Yep.
wicked.
2 tickets sold in the future. I haven't even dated that, but
Sick. Awesome, man. Wicked. A couple of rapid fire questions. What do you believe is true that you cannot prove?
man.
We can come back to it if you want to think on it.
No. Quick fire, quick answer. Here we go. Aliens.
Awesome. Love it. Morning rituals. What does the first 60 minutes of your day look like?
First 60 minutes is me getting up as quick as I can. I try not dwell and sit in bed in this horizontal position. I like standing up and adjusting to a vertical position, so I do that as quickly as I can. No snoozing, just straight up, yeah. And I'll usually go into a meditation straight away. I like to go into my inner world before the external world.
Love it.
Consistent as much as I can. I can't say I do that every single day, but I do that as much as I can. Yeah, it's usually every second to every day. I do my best to do that. And yeah, I'll just sit there and breathe and connect to myself. I might go outside, just walk around for a bit, look out the back of Mitcham, so I usually sit there and just look outside for a bit and just breathe. Then hydrate. That's my next step. It's just I usually get some rock salt, some good rock salt into some water, hydrate, I don't know, 500 mils or something like that, and then I might have some food or a small coffee, and then pretty much get myself ready for work. Yeah, that's like, and then drive, and that kind of wraps me up to about my client.
Yeah, sick. That's awesome.
I was going to say cold showers occasionally.
Yeah,
not as much.
Yep. Yeah, we did kind of speak about that.
I went through a huge phase of them a while back, but haven't done them recently. Want to reintroduce them, but it's just having the sack to kind of get in and get through that first phase of getting used to them. It's pretty rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of it.
Yeah, awesome. Best investment you've made and why?
Ooh.
Let's go in the last... let's go. Overall.
Best investment? Oh, man. I've got to say the man, Tom Clark. Yeah, he's stumbling across that mentor and just fucking beautiful, man. He has just taken that fog off my head and the blinds off my eyes, and I can just see so clearly now. Yeah, just see so... I get who I am. I get what I'm doing. He's fast-tracked my mind and body to really traject me into my next journey and phases into my life. So Tom's been investment that you can't really put a number on.
Yeah, wicked. All right, how about the best investment you've made that was, let's go Tim Ferriss style, $100 or less. What is the best thing you've bought that was $100 or less in the last year? Something like something physical, something.
Yeah.
Material.
Not the Paul Chek's book came to mind, how to
Nice.
live how to move well and be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I bought that years ago. I bought another copy recently, but that book there is unbelievable. Do you know the one?
I haven't yet. No.
I'll lend it to you.
Absolutely.
Man. Yeah,
I'll link that in the notes as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very certain that's the name, by Paul Chek. Yeah, that one there is just like, I feel like that's a book that needs to be at school. It's fucking amazing. It's got everything you need to know, from how to understand how your digestive tract works, to breathing and how your nose works, to how like your feet and anatomy and nutrition, and talks about gluten and dairy and things that we just don't get told about. That I think has a big detriment, or maybe not, but it gives us some pretty valuable information. This book is amazing. Yeah, it's like I often refer back to it.
Yep, I love those books.
Yeah.
They're almost like Bibles. They are. Yeah, awesome. What was I going to say on that? Is there a book, or possibly that one, that you have gifted more than any other book?
That Supple
recommended?
and The Alchemist.
Okay, and what are the authors of? Do you remember the names of the authors of those ones?
Yeah, Alchemist. So Paul Chek for how to eat well and how to move well and be healthy. Supple Leopard, how to become a supple leopard. That's all about movement and mobility. That is from Kelly Starrett.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yep. And The Alchemist is, forgot the name, Kalido maybe.
Okay.
Forgot the author of that one. But yeah, you'll be able to find it on whatever platform you're searching them off. But yeah, The Alchemist, it's all about how to find your treasure.
Sick. I love that. So speaking of where to find people, this camera, I was going to do a Sean Evans thing there, but we don't have a third camera. Tell the world where we can find you.
Yep.
And you've obviously got these incredible events now happening. Where can people keep up to date with what's next and what's coming?
Cool. Yeah. So Instagram's the main platform at the moment. So that's just Dylan Taylor, DYLAN TAYLOR _. I couldn't get just Dylan Taylor. Someone had to make it.
Oh no!
I'm getting there as the years go by. I think they're getting deleted, and I can get an underscore less. But yeah, that's the.
Are you sure it's not just an old account that you're too embarrassed to admit to?
I don't know what else to call myself. But yeah, that's the Instagram handle there, and that's pretty much where I'm putting all my stuff at the moment. And you'll have a link tree there which can link podcasts and stuff like that. So that's pretty much all my info and what I'm up to and what's going on in my life.
Awesome. Sweet. Well, I think that's a perfect place to finish up. Is there anything else that you feel like you would have loved to have touched on?
Man, that's a whole nother podcast, man. But
there will be more.
I just want to say thank you, brother. Thank you for just allowing me to be here. This is such a cool time that we can do this kind of stuff and reach out to so many people and spread a message and give value. So thank you for allowing me to be here. Big love, brother.
You're most welcome, man. Love you too. Thank you. All right. Peace. Raw with Ollie McNicol.